Hello, my name is Scott Davis. Welcome to New World Birth. This is the weekly neutrino forecast for April 19th to April 25th of 2015. And on the 19th, we have the sun. It's in late Aries. You can see it right here, denoted by this black circle with a dot in it. It's in the third hexagram, and on the outside of the wheel, we see the chop mark for the third hexagram. Numbered from bottom to top, the third hexagram goes yang, yin, yin, and then yin, yang, yin. And then the third hexagram is open to is mapped to an opening in an energy channel called a gate. And right here is the third gate of ordering difficulty at the beginning. The fundamental challenge of initiation is to transcend confusion and establish order. Located in the sacral center in an individual energy path in the knowing circuit called the channel of mutation, a design of energy which initiates and fluctuates, that's connected to its harmonic, the 60th gate of acceptance, limitation. The acceptance of limitation is the first step in transcendence. And I found human design to be amazingly accurate in describing the person that I use it as my primary tool when I provide readings. And we've got the following activated gates on the 19th. We've got the sun in the third gate with the earth in the 50th gate. The north node is in the 48th gate with the south node in the 21st gate. Mercury is in the 24th gate with Venus in the 16th gate, Mars in the second gate. We've got Jupiter in the 33rd gate, and Saturn is retrograde in the 34th gate. Uranus is in the 51st gate. Neptune is in the 37th gate. And Pluto is newly retrograde in the 54th gate. So obviously not every gate activation forms a channel, but this information can be very helpful if you know your own human design chart, because some of these transits will form channels with potentials in your personal body graph. The neutrino forecast is just a weather report. No matter what the weather, your individual strategy and authority is the correct choice to have an authentic experience regardless of the program. As Ra Uru said, whatever the weather's going to be, you have your neutrino umbrella. As long as you're experimenting with your strategy and authority, the weather is for your pleasure. And we begin the week with one channel definition due to the transit field. With Venus in the 16th gate and the north node in the 48th gate, we've got the channel of the wavelength, a design of talent until the 21st. This is a collective logic channel where folks who have this in their chart experience it as reaching some level of mastery through practice. This is a channel about caring skills. Given the short time period that this channel will be defined by the program, it's hard to really consider how it will condition people, but we might find folks who are engaged in repetition of some type of creativity to make gradual improvement. Collective logic creativity is different from individual creativity in that this is creativity that's earned through hard work and commitment to be to be shared with the collective, whereas individual creativity is about empowerment in the now. The defined splenic center brings intuition and well-being. Ra warned that non-splenic people may let go of something that is good for them during a transit defining the splenic center. We're going to be looking at the sun's Ravi Ching line values daily because 70% of the neutrinos we receive come from the sun. And as Ross said in Living with the Program, the lines of the day, when talking about these daily shifts of line values, he said we can always take advantage of the themes of the day. If your strategy and authority does not lead you in that direction, you can always notice how the program is affecting others in your environment. So let's get started. On April 19th, we've got the sun in the third line of the third hexagram. In the Marta line, the sun in the third line of the third hexagram is survival, the ability to recognize and distinguish between fertile and sterile and their various manifestations. Exalted in reproduction, the ability to choose the best mate. An innate knowing of what is sterile and what is fertile, and where mutation is specifically biological and dependent on collaboration with others. Detrimented, the perverse denial of evolutionary standards, and innate contrariness which refuses to mutate. Third line days, the martyr line, what we're talking about is a trial and error process, bonds made and broken, a system of discovery by figuring out what doesn't work. And then later on the 19th, the sun then moves up into the opportunist, the fourth line of the third hexagram, with this shift happening at 9:44 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And so you'll want to convert that to your local time zone. The sun in the fourth line of the third hexagram is described as charisma, innate quality which attracts valued guidance, exalted psychic attunement that magnetizes nurturing, a psychic energy which attracts nourishment and ensures ordering. Detrimented, where the demands of the ego lead to rejection, confused energy that needs nourishment but is generally rejected. And the opportunist line, this is a point where we change from the inward perspective of the lower trigram to more of the outward perspective of the upper trigram, with the themes of friendship, companionship, networking. Fourth line days are great for social interaction. People are more open to networking, to being friendly and social. And then on the 20th, the sun then moves into the fifth line, into the heretic line, again, third hexagram, at 8:46 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the fifth line of the third hexagram is a victimization, where actions designed to overcome confusion alienate others, exalted the courage to stand by one's convictions. The unique energy of individuality to withstand confusion. Detrimented, where victimization leads to appeasement and suffering. Confused energy, which is dominated by the ordering powers of others. The fifth line is the heretic. The key thing to understand about the heretic is that it's about projection. The projection is always positive, then negative. So the positive being they could do it. They'd be perfect for it. And then if the person doesn't do it, can't do it, for whatever reason they do not meet the expectation, then the projection turns to negative, and where the heretic might be tied to the stake and punished for not meeting the expectation. This is a day of suspicion. It's also a day of universalization, where something can leak out and spread like a virus, where maybe a YouTube video suddenly has millions of viewings, or a Facebook post goes viral. But there's a great deal of suspicion and paranoia on a fifth line day, which impacts the nature of relationships. As I said before in other videos, given the projection field, it really is only paranoia if they're not out to get you. And honestly, if you're being projected on, they actually may be out to get you. Seduction is also a theme of a fifth line day. And then on the 21st, the sun then moves up onto the roof of the hexagram into the role model line, the sixth line of the third hexagram. The shift happening at 7:48 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun is exalted in the sixth line of the third hexagram as surrender, the ultimate maturity to recognize when struggle is futile, exalted as light sustained, so life goes on. The innate acceptance that ordering is a process, not a problem. And six line days up on the roof of the hexagram here, the role model. If you think about standing on the roof of a building, we don't tend to look at the building so much as what's around the building, what's happening in the neighborhood. Ra talked about six line days not to get stuck with your head in the clouds, because you'll end up with something banging into your shins or your kneecaps. It's a day where there's a lack of focus on what's going on around us, because folks are looking beyond their immediate environment. And like third line days, there's certain dangers of not seeing a car coming or not seeing a bill coming. And then also on the 21st, Mercury leaves the 24th hexagram and joins Mars in the second hexagram. right here. And then also we have Venus leaving the 16th hexagram and moving over into the 35th, which means that we no longer have any centers being defined by the transit field. So let's talk about Mercury first. Mercury is the messenger of the gods in mythology. So this is about communication and expansion of human consciousness through communication. And Ra talked about that it wasn't just through words, but also through music. And what do we need to communicate in life? Well, we communicate the message of our design Mercury through the medium of our personality Mercury. And what might be communicated when Mercury is in the second hexagram? Well, direction and the potential to continue evolving. This is the gate of higher knowing, the receptivity as a primal base through which any response is determined, the root of action. Mercury is detrimented in the first line of the second hexagram due to Mars also being in the second hexagram. And this is intuition, sensitivity to disharmony and atrophy, detrimented the assertion of ego in spite of wisdom, the urge for action that will ignore the wisdom of the higher self. And then also on the 21st, Venus moves from the 16 and right off the chart, but we're going to put it right back here into the 35. And hopefully it will stay. Let's see if we got a more sticky one. And so Venus it is very powerful and deeply misunderstood according to Ra. It brings morality, values, natural law in which we deal with the other and the consequences of the world around us, and what disturbs you on a moral level. Your design and personality, Venuses, tell us about the moral dilemma you're going to work with in your life, and that if you don't act with moral clarity, Venus can be unkind in its retribution. In the 35th hexagram, Venus is in the gate of change, progress. By design, progress cannot exist in a vacuum and is dependent on interaction. Venus is exalted in the first line of the 35 as humility, the ability to accept rejection. Exalted, the artist that attracts rejection as a part of the process. Acceptance of change and rejection as part of the process. And then on the 22nd, the sun moves out of the third hexagram and into the 27, and the earth moves out of the 50 and into the 28. And so we'll start with the Earth in the 28. This is the gate of the game player, preponderance of the great, the transitoriness of power and influence. This shift happens at 6:51 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and with the sun in the 27th gate of caring, nourishment, the enhancement of the quality and substance of all activities through caring. And the sun is exalted in the first line of the 27, which is selfishness, exalted, the ego-driven first law of caring for oneself, which is not necessarily at the expense of others. The power to care for oneself first. And so we're in a new hexagram. The first, second, and third lines, the lower trigram, these are days when people are looking more inward, more absorbed in their own process, with the theme of the first line being a fear or an anxiety that needs to be investigated. This is the line of the investigator. So this is a day to study, not to act, a day to look into things, not to jump. It's a good day to deal with things you don't understand, can't make sense of, or don't know. And then on the 23rd, the sun then moves into the second line. So this is the hermit line of the 27. The shift happening at 5:55 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the second line of the 27 is described as self-sufficiency, the obvious law that to give one must have, exalted the mother, the great nourisher, the strength to nurture and the power to care, detrimented the child, depleting the resources of others, weakness that can sap the strength and power of others. And the second line day, the line of the hermit, this is a day when everyone's waiting for something. They're waiting to be called, particularly called because of their natural talents. People are stuck in their own trip. It's really not a great day to have a party or a big social event because folks really would rather stay home under the influence of the hermit. And then on the 24th, the sun then moves up into the third line. So the martyr line of the 27 at 5 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the 27-3 is greed, the obsession with having much more than one needs. Exalted here, the psychological manifestation, the obsession and dependency on knowing what is hidden. The secret policeman, the power derived in having more than one needs, whether sexually, mentally, or materially. Detrimented the mundane and holy without redeem mundane. Sorry, the excuse me, mundane and wholly without redeeming value, greed, a lust that inevitably cripples, the lust for power to get more than one needs. And third line days, again, we're talking about the martyr with a trial and error process, bonds made and broken, system of discovery by figuring out what doesn't work. Things bump into us under the third line energy, so be careful on the roads. Be careful of swinging doors, swinging elbows. This is a day where we might have bonds made or bonds broken. Again, third line day, trial and error. So it's a good day to do business and work on the material plane, according to Ra. But you have to be careful because things can go wrong, but things that lead to discovery. And then also on the 24th, Mercury moves out of the second hexagram, leaving Mars, and into the 23rd. Up here in the throat center. Mercury, we talked about earlier being the messenger of gods, being about communication. What might be communicated with Mercury in the 23rd? Well, I expect to hear people say, I know, whether they do or not. This is the gate of assimilation, splitting apart, amorality, the awareness and understanding which leads to acceptance of diversity. And Mercury in the first line of the 23 is proselytization, the attempt to undermine one set of values for another. Exalted, the sage, who in the extreme can defend evil as part of the greater good. The powerful expression of an insight which will undermine established values, detrimenting the missionary whose very light will bring darkness, the powerful expression of insight which will produce negative effects. On the 25th, the sun then moves into the fourth line of the 27th at 4:05 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and it's described as generosity, the natural sharing of attained abundance, exalted, magnanimous, and qualitative sharing, the gift of rewarding those who are deserving, the power and strength to share generously, detrimented, indiscriminate sharing, the potential loss of power and strength through indiscriminate sharing. And in fourth line days, we've moved out of the lower trigram into the upper trigram, again with the shift of changing from an inward perspective to more of an looking outward, with the themes of friendship, companionship, of networking. Fourth line days, again, great for social interaction. People are more open to networking, being friendly and social. So that wraps up the week. And so no matter what energies that are conditioning you during the week, just remember that this experience is about being a passenger that's riding in a vehicle driven by the magnetic monopole. So enjoy the scenery. Let the vehicle take you where you need to go through using your strategy and authority. Every day is a blessing, no matter what dramas beckon to distract us. We're all here just giving the performance of a lifetime on the world stage. Just take some time to observe the play as well as act your part, remembering that you're a spiritual being that's having a human experience. I'd like to thank you for checking out New World Birth. The next segment of the weekly neutrino forecast will be on April 26th. 2015 should be available on the 25th, when we'll continue to look at the influence of the heavenly bodies as they transit the sky and the hexagrams of the I Ching. You can check us out on Facebook, Blogger, and YouTube. There's New World Birth presences in all those places. And I encourage you to share this information as videos or as text as widely as you choose, and invite you to contact me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com if you have any questions, or if you wish to contact me regarding scheduling a reading. And if you've been thinking about getting a reading, please contact me. I would love to provide you with a reading during these uncertain times. You'll need to either be able to call me in Maine in the USA, or we can connect over Skype to receive your reading. We're also accepting donations to keep these reports freely available. As always, I'm blessed that you've taken the time to connect with my passion for these ancient mysteries and their application to our journey during this incarnation. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste, in Lakesh, and as Ra would say, love yourself. As always, thanks for everything, and I look forward to connecting with you again next week for the next weekly neutrino forecast.